India's GDP numbers are out, and there is good news and bad news. First, the good news. India remains the fastest growing major economy in the world. The GDP grew at 6.7% in the first quarter of this financial year. That's April, May and June. That is the first quarter. China, on the other hand, grew at 4.7%. So India still holds the crown. That is the good news. And now the bad news. The growth rate is slowing down. Look at the same quarter last year. The GDP grew at 8.2%. Of course, that was a post-pandemic rebound, so not quite sustainable. But also look at the previous quarter, January, February and March, the first 3 months of this year. The GDP still grew by 7.8%. So India's central bank was quite optimistic. They predicted 7.1% growth in this quarter. But the actual rate was 6.7%. That's 4 points below the RBI's prediction. It's the slowest growth rate in 5 quarters. So what went wrong here? Most experts point to a couple of reasons. Number one, reduced government spending. We had a general election in the last quarter. So public spending was muted. You don't splurge in the middle of voting. That's one reason. Reason number two, private consumption was low. Most businesses reported a drop in footfall and they attributed it to the heat wave. Fewer people in stores equals less spending. Less spending equals slower growth. Which brings us to the final reason, a slowdown in agriculture. This sector grew 3.7% in the first quarter of last year. But it grew just 2% this year. Again, blame the weather for this. Most of North India reported intense heat waves. Chances are that reduced the output. But it's not all gloomy. We had a lot of rain in the second quarter, so the hope is that farming will pick up again. As for the other sectors, things are looking quite good. Manufacturing grew by 7% last quarter. Last year, it was just 5%, this time 7%. Construction sector expanded by 8.6%. And services grew by 7.1%. So the trajectory should be good. Ratings agency Moody's has upgraded India's outlook. They're expecting India to grow by 7.2% this year. Their previous prediction was 6.8%. Having said that, these numbers will raise some questions too. It's the first GDP report in Prime Minister Modi's third term. He would have been hoping for a better showing. The chief economic advisor says this was expected. He says the growth outlook remains strong. It's also a challenge for the Reserve Bank. You see, they have kept interest rates steady since February last year. But will these numbers force a rethink? Will the RBI consider cutting rates to stimulate growth? That's hard to do when food inflation is at 5%. I know these numbers will be dissected in the coming days, so let's focus on the big picture tonight. India continues to defy global trends. We have two major wars underway. One is in West Asia, the other is in Europe. So most supply chains are in crisis. Plus major economies are slowing down. The US and Japan reported slower growth rates. Germany is stagnating and China is struggling to regain its mojo. Despite this gloom, India is pushing on. Consider exports in the last quarter. 8.7% growth compared to the global average of 1%, 8.7% for India. Even wealth creation does not seem to be a problem. Let me show you a new report. It says India is minting a billionaire every 5 days. 1 billionaire every 5 days. Imagine that. We had 109 billionaires in 2014. We have 334 now. So put together, they're worth $1.9 trillion. That's more than the GDP of Saudi Arabia. Impressive, right? But here's the less impressive part. Billionaires make up more than half of India's GDP. It tells you what the country's next challenge is. Equity. Our economic pie is expanding every quarter. The key is to make sure that everyone gets a slice of it.
Across continents, one powerful news source.
Bringing you diverse perspectives on the issues that matter.
We go beyond the boundaries to give you that little extra about every sporting moment.
So thank you for making Firstpost 5 million strong. We're counting on your support, and you can trust us to bring you the news unfiltered and unvarnished.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.
On the show today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies. What can we expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
Start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. The first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Aaron Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital,